The one and only Multiverse presents a grand unified theory. Without the polarized properties of universal particles, dark matter, there would be no light waves in space. Best Hubble image of Pluto, 2019. New Horizon image of Pluto, 2015. Light waves. Understanding light is the key that unlocks the secrets of the universe, multiverse. Why are these images of Pluto so different? What is really going on with light waves? Simply put, the super tiny light streams that Hubble has been able to gather are far less per area than the light streams from the Horizon spacecraft. So, the closer you get to the light source, there are more streams, which produce a finer resolution. Waves in a medium, not photons in empty space. Web page and video are not AI generated. Your host, Richard E. Noer. Light waves, streams. Super tiny oscillating pressure wave streams through the dark matter sea, oscillating pressure, streaming, energy. A. Tiny wave streams always separate and spread out from source in the dark matter sea, if there is no interference. The center region is always brighter, louder, or more intense with higher resolution than the perimeter particle wave streams, unless focused. The ear, the human ear has an organ called the cochlea. The cochlea is structured with chambers and sensors for the sound spectrum. When the ear intercepts sound waves, oscillations occur in the inner ear, and the tune sensors vibrate. This in turn, stimulates nerves that convert the sound vibrations into electrical energy. The electrical energy travels to the brain and can now be recognized as sound. Everybody knows that sound is the result of vibrating molecular wave energy. This means that if there are no molecules of air, like in a vacuum, you wouldn't be able to hear a sound. On the other hand, sound waves can exist in a different medium. This would be a dark matter sea. You can't listen to this sound because the particle wave streams would travel right through your eardrums and body without vibrating the auditory nerves. The eye works on the same principle as the ear but with a different structure because of the higher frequencies. The rods and cones of the eye contain a microscopic tuning fork type environment that vibrates to light wave frequencies and intensities of a dark matter sea. Then it sends the electrical information to the human brain to be processed. It takes continuous wave action to set up sympathetic vibrations, which accurately pass on the information the light waves contain. In space, the light waves are not vibrating molecular matter, they are vibrating dark matter streams. Because dark matter particles are so small, the number of light streams per area would be huge. TM maintains that you cannot have light waves without dark matter. This is because a spatial void will not pass light waves, just like sound will not pass in a molecular void. Since light can be seen throughout space, the only conclusion is, all of the open space has to be a medium. In TM theory, it is a polarized spatial existence of universal dark matter particles. This is the only solution that fits all criteria, and complies with all observable light propagation throughout the universe, multiverse. X and gamma waves, it is evident that smaller particles or structures can vibrate faster than bigger ones, but there are limits. Dark matter particles themselves can only vibrate so fast. In the realm of X and gamma waves, it is likely that a magnetic polarizing force of universal particle fields does the vibrating, not the particles themselves. Light is a pressure wave, X and gamma are vibrating magnetic waves. Now, if only atoms are vibrating, it is likely you would not observe X or gamma waves but you would be able to see different colors of light. This is because each atom has a unique nucleus spin vibration, and quantum field density. They are not capable of vibrating as fast as universal particle magnetic fields, therefore would produce slower frequencies of oscillating energy. The vibrating light energy is directly linked with the density and elasticity of the whole atomic structure. What about photons? This concept is not supported by the multiverse theory. Light particles, if photons were particles it would be likely they could zip through the so-called void of space with no impedance, no problem. Now on the other hand, just imagine if light and all radiated energy, radio waves, X-rays, gamma waves, magnetic waves, all that information was part of a photon. There would have to be an infinite number of photons for every conceivable variant in the frequency spectrum. Now imagine how many photons you would have to radiate simultaneous streams of photons in all directions, from all the sources, of all the energy points in the whole universe. Then as photons spread out in their radiation from a source, there would be developing gaps where there would be no photons. B. The creation of photons has to be explained. C. How could photons store light information? D. How does the eye see photons? E. How do photons interfere with each other? TM says, photons, particles, are completely illogical. Non-science. They don't fit in with all we know and must be classified as a belief or concept. Conclusion: light is not photon particle energy, it is oscillating streaming, pressure wave energy in dark matter. The misconceived expanse of nothing would not support wave energy, but a medium of particle polarized space does. TM believes that photon theory or particles of light is just a mathematical construct that was created to explain how light would be able to travel in a vacuum. In the multiverse, particle light theory is not necessary. This is because there is no such thing as a vast expanse of nothing. Werner Heisenberg, 1901–1976, age 75. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Heisenberg's explanation of the single and double slit experiment is called the uncertainty principle and was formulated without the knowledge of dark matter. TM has a different understanding because of universal mass, and has established and reformed light wave propagation. In the multiverse, Heisenberg's explanation, although eloquent, is not necessary. Single slit experiment. What happens when you shine a laser beam through a narrowing vertical opening? TM theory. 1. Omniplane wave streams, a new term that describes multilateral, spherical, push-pull wave propagation. Billions of universal particles oscillating in step, as a single red laser frequency, with multiple streams, and multiple streams of streams, in all planes. If you shine a red laser light beam through a support structure containing a single vertical slit, then project it on a screen, you get a nice red circle, if all the wave streams are smaller than the opening. 2. When you narrow the opening a little bit, the perimeter streams become restricted. This causes some of them to interact with the polarized atomic quantum fields on the sides of the slit. The streams that don't encounter the vertical obstruction are not restricted and travel right through, thus creating streams in the vertical, horizontal plane. So far so good, this can be explained. Now, in this experiment things are about to get interesting. If you progressively narrow the single slit's vertical opening, something unexpected happens. The projected image of circular red laser streams gets wider in the horizontal plane. As you decrease the opening even more, the streams of push-pull laser energy spreads out in the horizontal. Can the laser's beam and its streams be squeezed and stretched? What? Why? How is this happening? As you might have guessed, TM has yet another answer. There are a few new things that you must consider when evaluating this experiment. Because there is no empty or void of space, the focused red laser light is traveling through a medium of particle polarized space. This in turn creates a circular omniplane beam, with an extreme number of individual light wave streams. When the beam encounters the single vertical slit, all streams will pass right through if the opening of the slit is large enough. Now, as you narrow the opening, at some point the beam will encounter restriction in the horizontal plane. The streams not intersecting the slit can pass right through, but the streams that encounter the quantum fields of the slits get snagged off course, a diverting spatial magnetic flow. As you narrow the slit further, there is more and more snagging. 3. And 4. On the other side of the vertical slit, many of the push-pull laser streams have collapsed into the horizontal plane. These waves are created by some light streams interacting with more of the atomic quantum fields on the sides of the slit. Remember, the streams have a push-pull polarized magnetic component. Now, in the secondary dark matter plane, there is no restriction in the horizontal, so the light streams now riding through secondary dark matter spread out in this plane. This in turn collapses the emerging vertical flow and elongates the horizontal pattern. In other words, the streams that react with the quantum fields on the sides of the slits get magnetically skewed in different horizontal directions, but the streams that don't interact with the slit continue right through. All the in-step red frequency of the laser streams are unaffected as they refocus in a secondary modified trajectory. b. Because of the narrow slit opening, it has prevented a large number of streams from passing through. This creates a modified red laser beam with fewer streams per area. We now have a diminished number of streams, and the brightness of the laser beam is weaker. c. So the net result is a flattened red laser light beam with less intensity, and a diminished height in the vertical plane. The information the original light streams contain are unaffected. Frequency, etc. This phenomenon is known as a PFM, or a plane filtered medium. It is not a polarized filtering of the north and south poles of the particles in the stream. It is a magnetic pull on the light streams themselves. In other words, the magnetic properties of the streams are diverted off course, but the particles in the streams are not modified. Conclusion: it is the external magnetic quantum fields on the sides of the slit that pulls some of the peripheral red laser streams off course. This in turn is what decreases the number of streams in the vertical and widens the horizontal plane. Double slit experiment. Thomas Young, 1773 to 1829, age 56. 1. Streaming light waves. 2. Heavier particles, atomic nuclei. 3. Electrons. 4. Photon particles, or pulse waves. Double slit experiment, 1801. In my opinion, Thomas Young's double slit experiment is responsible for physics taking a wrong path. Thomas Young himself was a supporter of light wave theory, but his experiment had unintended results. The analysis shows that light waves traveling through two vertical slits creates multiple vertical bands of light when projected on a screen. It was theorized that light waves after going through the slits interfere with each other and add and subtract intensities because of intermingling wave energy. The resulting pattern showed multiple vertical bands with a bright one at the center, then the diminishing brightness of bands as you move to the end on either side. TM has a different take on what's going on. First of all, because there is no such thing as empty space, there are two separate universal particle fields, primary and secondary. There are 4 installments of the experiment, one using waves, one using alpha particles, one with electrons and one with photons. The results can be different for each because of specific reasons. 1. Light waves. A huge number of omniplane light wave streams are passing through the double slits in this experiment. This creates 2 different separate wave patterns in the secondary dark matter field. Because of the distance between the slits, some of the incoming push-pull streaming energy has reacted with the atomic quantum fields on the sides of the slits, and many of them have been pulled off course. The light wave streams ride these interfering secondary waves. This causes some streams to move further apart and closer together, which in turn adds and subtracts intensities at different points of the secondary wave's entanglement. The light intensity increases and decreases, not because of the frequency synchronization of the light streams, but because the streams get closer and further apart. The streams never actually join, but can be group compacted in a beam. Now for something remarkable. Because light has a magnetic component, streams and beams can also group together. See Encyclopedia 50. b. Finally, the vertical light bands you see reflected on a screen is a direct result of the movement of light streams that interact with the sides of the slits, and also stream through the secondary waves. In other words, the omniplane light streams have been spatially filtered. No so-called photon particles are passing through the slits, just push-pull wave energy streams. See, remember, concentrated individual streams have more intense energy than separated ones. This explains the differing brightness levels of the projected vertical images. The concentrated strength of energy streams is also true for radio waves, sound waves, heat and gravity currents. 2. Atomic nuclei, alpha rays, passing through the slits, creates only 2 vertical bands. This is because the nucleus of helium atoms are too heavy to change trajectories, even though they create secondary waves, and they also have a neutral charge. 3. Electrons passing through the slits creates secondary waves in the secondary field, and multiple vertical bands. The electron trajectories can change because they are small, light, and are influenced by the entanglement of the secondary waves, and they have a negative charge. 4. Photons, pulses of streaming light wave energy passing through the vertical slits, creates 2 interfering secondary waves in the secondary dark matter field. These pulses react with the atomic quantum fields on the sides of the slits, and many of the pulsed streams are pulled off course. Now the pulsing streams go their individual ways and ride through the secondary wave patterns. The interfering wave fields is what creates the multiple vertical bands we see when projected on a screen. This modulation looks like it is made of particles, but it is not. They are pulses of light wave energy that ride through the interfering secondary waves. Again, no so-called photon particles are passing through the slits, just push-pull pulses of streamed wave energy. We must interrupt here. These so-called photons are man-made, and do not form naturally. They are chopped up light wave energy streams. These pulsed streams behave like particles, but they are not. More about the double slit experiment. When you have two vertical slits splitting dark matter wave streams, the secondary dark matter pool produces two independent wave patterns that interfere with each other. If you use lasers to look at which slit the particles and/or waves emanate from, the operation defaults to a non-interference pattern. It seems that when you observe the experiment, it changes the result. What the heck? What is going on? As you might have guessed, TM has an explanation. When evaluating this experiment, it is important to remember that dark matter with its magnetic component is the essence of all space, even on both sides of this double slit experiment. Now, as you observe the backside of the slits using laser wave technology, you invade the secondary fields with wave energy, thus changing the dynamics of the fields. This in turn corrupts the result of the experiment. If you put detectors on the slits, it also would change the dynamics of the secondary wave energy, thus invalidating the test results. Just looking at the experiment, you would have to use wave energy, and this would change the wave patterns of the secondary field. So, if you modify in any way the wave patterns of the secondary field, the experiment gets corrupt. TM, as you can see, the existence of a medium of particles with a magnetic influence changes everything. Wave energy, magnetic energy, and gravity are not mysteries anymore. This is the only solution that fits and complies with all we know. Multiple slit experiment. Fun stuff. Want to see what dark matter secondary waves look like and do? All you need is a candle and a comb. Now, light the candle and note that the flame is elongated in the vertical plane. Bring the comb between your eyes and the candle, and align the teeth up and down. Vertical plane. Close one eye. This is because it is easier to see this effect through only one eye. What do you see? Look very closely at the individual teeth of the comb and notice there is a slight distortion of the light. Now, rotate the comb to the horizontal plane and have a look. What do you see? There are lots of distortions of light waves on the individual teeth. I'll bet that you have never noticed this effect unless you have a curious nature. You now have become a scientist, just like Galileo, Newton, and Einstein. All that's left to do is to explain what you have just seen. Here's what TM says is going on. Light wave streams produced by the candle are traveling in dark matter, and are gradually spreading out from source. When they intersect the teeth of the comb, the magnetic force of the outer atomic quantum fields of each tooth creates secondary waves in the dark matter medium facing you. This in turn pulls some of the light streams from the candle off course. The streams that don't interact with the comb travel right through. When you rotate the comb into the vertical position and the teeth are now horizontal, there are many more intersecting barriers to the streams, thus more distortion. What you have just done is filter the candle light in different planes. You have created secondary waves in dark matter that can move light wave streams in different directions. Modulating streams. It is the magnetic force of the outer quantized universal particles in the teeth of the comb that makes this effect happen. It has nothing to do with pole orientation of the streams. Polarization. So, the next time you watch a 3D movie using polarizing glasses, you will know that these glasses are not polarized. They are plain filtering glasses, and do not shift the magnetic orientation of the many light streams. More, see Encyclopedia 104. PS Remember, light is push-pull wave streaming energy, not particles of light in empty space, moving through the comb. It's like a super double slit experiment, only with many more slits. Augustine J. Fresnel. 1788–1827, age 39. Bending, bunching, spreading light waves. A Fresnel lens, prisms. Augustine Fresnel discovered that you could increase the brightness of light by placing convex lenses in the path of light waves, thus adding to the light's intensity. So if one lens magnifies, how about 2 or 3 or more? Yes, that is just what happened. When you add more convex lenses in the path of the light source, the observed light becomes brighter and more concentrated in the center of the light stream. In other words, you have created a beam of bright light, without doing anything to the light source. He also discovered that the lenses cannot be the same size, they must gradually get bigger and bigger, thus overlapping, to increase and achieve more of the amplified light beam effect. B. How curious this was, and what benefit would this observation have? Well, how about a lighthouse to guide the ships at sea? Before GPS, that is exactly how ships found harbors and navigated through dangerous waters. C. How is this all possible? There is only one true explanation. It's the convexed curvature and electrical component of the outer barriers of quantum fields, of each of the glass lens, that causes the light waves to change trajectories and bunch up. This increases intensity and increases the speed of light, just like gravity currents. D. Now it gets more complex. If a glass lens has a concaved glass barrier, the Q fields of the lenses will again change the light wave direction, but this time will separate the streams and slow light speed, again, just like gravity currents. One more remarkable observation. If the exit barrier of a glass lens is straight, but the entrance to the glass lens is at an angle, or vice versa, it will separate the light waves according to speed: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. Roy G. Biv. What? Yes, that's just what I said. Light wave propagation in a medium is influenced by the medium. It can increase and decrease light density, speed, and change beam direction. It all depends on quantum field barriers or the transparency and polarized magnetic density of the space. Now for the kicker. The speed of light streams will also show different colors of light because of the Doppler effect. This effect can be created by glass lenses and their Q field barriers, as well as transparency and density of all medium, including dark matter space. Now for the part that nobody wants to hear: if there is no medium, there is no light wave transmission, period. No color, no light, no magnetic waves, no gravity, no anti-gravity, no existence. Sorry empty spacers, you cannot have all these things without a particle-to-particle transmission of energy. Conclusion: Fresnel lensing is now well known, and has many more application for use in the modern world, like movie projectors and screens, or flat magnifiers, or car brake lights and headlights. Even the stop-and-go traffic signals use this technology. It is all made possible by quantum fields and their magnetic component, which snags the spatial magnetic flow properties of light wave streams, thus redirecting their separation and concentration. Thank you, scientist and experimentalist, Augustine Fresnel. James C. Maxwell. 1831 to 1879, age 48. More properties of light. The first known color photograph. Maxwell. Many people throughout the years have done experiments with light waves, but only a few were groundbreaking. James Clerk Maxwell has been overlooked in history, but not by TM. This scientist got so many things right. In fact, he ranks among the top 3. B. Without magnetism, there would be no universe as we know it. Light waves are the direct result of an oscillating magnetic spatial force in a medium. Empty space, or space without substance, is not a medium, it is nothing and doesn't exist. Nothing will not support light, electromagnetic waves, gravity, anti-gravity, dark energy, heat or sound. Space is a vast expanse of matter and energy, period. This is the only logical conclusion. Matter and magnetism, polar or non-polar. Now, and only now, does the universe make perfect sense. Thank you James, Isaac, Galileo, Albert, and Charles. A horizontal, plane filtered, green laser beam. Individual universal particle streams of streams. In the graphic, particle push-pull vibrating streams are closer together, concentrated, in the center of the laser beam. That's why it is brighter there. When the streams spread out towards the perimeter, the brightness diminishes. The black bands occur because the laser has been filtered in the horizontal plane. It is the magnetic force of outer quantum fields on the sides of the opaque barriers that produces interfering secondary waves. When the streams exit the filter, they have modified trajectories, but not the information provided by the individual particles in the light streams themselves. If you look very closely at the picture, you can see individual streams of streams. Encyclopedia 104 has more information. Your host, Richard E. Noer. Young me. Mini me. Email, noerastronomy@gmail.com. Here in a multiverse, our goal is to find the cosmic truth. No matter where, or how far it takes you. The universe truly does unify. If you get the basics right.